All right, hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's March 2nd here in the state of Iowa. We're recording on a Sunday here because I'll be unable to access the microphone on Mondays for the next 2 weeks as I will be back in class for CDL. But Nathan Creep's joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Sportscheller. We're gonna have a little chiller episode today, probably a little bit shorter, as you bear with us because we are coming off some weekend festivities here in Waterloo. Bryce, you came to town again. This is the second week in a row. I got to see you, man.
Yep. Last Sunday we got to see an epic MVC battle, and this week I tore up a casino. We won an award, and we celebrated Scotty B's birthday. And I'm banged up today. My brain activity is slow, so bear with me, people. I may be stumbling, rumbling, saying incoherent things. So just thanks for tuning in if you did.
Yeah, we got the backwards hat today. It's usually
Yep.
indication of a double Cedar Falls weekend, like I said. But hey, you get to town Friday. You booked a double night there at the Isle Casino,
We did.
and we make a quick visit with you guys. And you were Mr. Casino that night. I think you're the only person that came out of the group of six people that with some money.
Yes. Yep. Every night I came away with money. I want to say it was hard to say because I kept going back. You know how addictive personalities and casinos and
Yep.
a couple beverages and maybe some nicotine and everything involved. I couldn't pull away from the casino. So I don't remember exactly. I think I started with like 120, ended up with like 540. So it was a very successful casino weekend.
Enough to pay your hotel.
Enough to pay the hotel, enough to pay for some mini donuts at the rodeo on Saturday night, enough to buy some beverages and some birthday drinks for Scotty. So felt good. Felt good to be on top because I think lifetime I'm still down huge at casinos and definitely sports betting. So every once in a while, it's good to feel like a winner.
Hey, you got to push the down days behind you and just remember the ups, man. That's about living the high of coming out and winner at the casino. You were hitting the virtual blackjack.
Virtual blackjack and slots of all things were the winners, and that's like never the case. So in all of the round, I probably played 50 hands of virtual blackjack throughout the weekend. I didn't get one blackjack, but
Oh, really?
I
Damn.
played the hit close to the close to the chest, and somehow came away. And then slots, I've never won anything significant on slots, but I got a lot of free spins, and I got some luck. It was fun. It was a blast. The casino's
Yeah.
great. I mean, there's no better feeling than when you're winning at the casino.
No, definitely not. And I've had usually the Iowa's been pretty good to me here the last couple of
Yeah.
years. The last two times we've gone, including this time, it's been the exact same outcome. I think I started with like 40 in the craps machine and got it up to about 120.
Okay.
And that 120 was history real quick as I stepped over to the roulette table and he said, nope, that's it. I'm done for the night. I followed you
Yeah,
and
like
Scotty B around to the slot machines. No luck there. It was just eating some money. And I wasn't gambling. I was just watching you guys at that time. And then I had one more drink and I said, screw it. I got $60 in my wallet. Let's make it back. We got back.
yeah.
We got that 60 up to 140 real quick in the crash
I,
machine. And it's gone.
I
Gone.
know every time I saw you, you're like, I got it back up, and then I'd see you again, and it was down. And I got it back up.
At least I got to
It's
ride
tough.
the roller coaster a little bit. It's a different thing when you lose right away and you're just done for the day. So at least I got to
Yes.
ride the emotions.
Uh-huh.
And eventually, I don't have an indication when to stop. I never do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, and
that-
that's what it got scary. So I highly recommend if you haven't stayed at the Isle, super fun. Be careful. I've never done Vegas. I think we may have mentioned that this year going to Scott's wedding in Vegas will be my first time there. I'm very worried. Anyone that plans on staying in a casino for more than one night, you got to be strong mentally because as soon as I lost that first loss, I wanted to immediately go right back. So it's a tough mental game. But
Yeah.
ton of fun. First time staying at the Isle and first time staying at a casino for more than one night. So super fun. Night two, we did a little rodeo and that was a lot of fun. What was your takeaway from the rodeo on Saturday night at the Hippodrome in Waterloo?
Yeah, awesome time. Before we jump into Saturday night at the rodeo, I forgot to tell you this, but when Madison and I were leaving the casino, and there's this car coming down the parking lot,
Oh shoot.
and we courteously we stepped out of our way onto like the little grass like section, and we were nowhere on pavement. We like purposely got out of our way. She rolls down the window. She's like, "Get out of my fucking way, or I will kill you." Yeah, she's like, "I will hit you and
Whoa.
kill you." And we were so stunned at that point, we just didn't say anything. I'm like, we literally did get out of your way, and you could tell it was just probably drunk old lady who lost a shit ton of money at the casino and just
Yeah.
took it out on us. But yeah, just let us have it real quick.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Scared my poor wife. She's just
He almost got run over.
yeah. So I don't know, weird encounter, but we handle it well. We just said whatever. I kind of understand they probably lost some money and they got the hell out of there. And yeah, so Saturday we go to the Hippodrome, and first off we
Yeah.
go to Starbucks
Mhm.
downtown Waterloo, one of my favorite places to grab some grub and some pregame drinks. Very feeding. You're
Yes.
right. You
Yeah,
can suck.
you'll get
You got to be
stuffed
careful how
after eating
much.
Starbucks.
You got to be careful how much you get, and you got the Iowa Philly,
I did. I'm notorious for
classic.
getting that Iowa Philly, and it's kind of dumb because it's a sandwich. It's a pulled pork sandwich, but I almost never eat the bread. And the reason I get the Iowa Philly still is because they serve it with the queso and the jalapeno. So I still pour everything on top, and then I just kind of eat around the bread. Yeah, it's great. But like you said, if you're not careful, and you plan on having the rest of your night be active, Starbucks can be kind of an interesting way to start. But I
Yeah.
think
So
we played it right.
yeah, I definitely took a different approach this time, and I split the meal with my wife
Yes.
this time instead of eating a full meal by myself because that was going to go nowhere good. So, anyways, successfully got that done. Had a couple drinks, and we head over to the Hippodrome, and we get to the parking lot area. It's like a freaking circus out there. I'm like, holy shit! The rodeo's in town, and people know it, man. And we get in, there's enough seats for some reason, so it's kind of deceiving in the parking lot.
It was.
But yeah, we get in. I think the best part of the day was seeing like the little kids ride the sheep, and
Yeah.
it was hilarious. They just
I'm
grab
assuming
over.
that was your first rodeo.
No, I've gone to every time I go to
Okay.
Texas to see cousin Mike. We go to Fort Worth. We go to the real rodeo.
Okay. And
And
how does this Waterloo rodeo compare to the Fort
well,
Worth
this
Big
this
Dogs?
one the entire time was just bull riding, right?
Mhm.
And in Fort Worth, you get bull riding, you get obstacle courses with like the actual cowboys and like the ropes trying to hit like moving sheep and see how fast they can tie up their legs together. So you see a lot of
Oh
the
yeah,
actions, a
right.
lot of more skill sets pit into the rodeo. So this one was just some sheep riding and rodeo, and half my time was in the donut line with you.
Yeah, we spent an absorbent amount of time in the donut line. And God damn it. Yeah, so we walk in and we see you guys, and like you said, there was a ton of seats left, but somehow we're tucked far left. So every time we had to make a beer run, donut run, or the bathroom, it felt like you walked in eternity. So like you said, we did spend most of our time not watching the rodeo. You and I go back for some reason in 2025. This place is only cash only, and that's a very random side note, but that kind of pissed me off. Well, on top of it only being cash only, there's almost no order to any of these concession lines. So you and I hop in the donut concession line, and after maybe 10 to 15 minutes, we realize we're in the waiting for donut line, not the pay for the donuts and then go wait in the line. So at that moment, our hearts sink a little bit. We know that we're probably in for another 15, 20, 30 minutes. God knows how long we were there. And then you pointed out Mr. Donut himself is maybe the best character in the world. Yeah. And you pointed out that he's the guy from Toy Story 2, Stinky Pete. I mean,
Yeah,
it couldn't be more of a resemblance. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Nate's thing. I'll throw it back on too. If you send me those pictures, I'll put it in the feed.
Okay.
This guy was a freaking legend, and you knew he really owned his job and loved it.
Yeah, this guy does not exist outside of anywhere making donuts. He's put on this earth for one reason, and that was to make those classic Waterloo stapled donuts at Waterloo events. And yeah, the line was weird. It was a line of people who paid and a line of people who didn't pay. And that's how he was kind of running things. And honestly, we found out that was not working very well. And we definitely got the short end of the stick. So eventually we get our donuts, make our way back to the area. The wife's like, man, have you even seen any of the rodeo today? And I did. I definitely got my money's worth, I think. But yeah, we did a lot of walking, but it was a good time.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head for sure. Like the sheep was the best part. I didn't know what to expect. I've never been to a rodeo. And yeah, I guess it was just a lot of bull riding and then like an intermission of like 4-year-olds riding sheep, which was hilarious.
Actually, the really cool part was two like young girls who were like the intermission entertainers were riding on the horses, and you and I were on our way to get donuts at this time. So we're right next to the area, and I was like, they're going like full speed on these horses around it, the arena, and she just acts like she's gonna fall off the horse, and you and I like take it like, oh shit, she's about to get. No, she did it on purpose. She was like dangling off this horse that was going full speed, so that was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
My
And then
overall takeaway is that the rodeo was interesting.
yeah,
I'm not sure if I need to go back. One of my major gripes is that there's not a lot of ventilation in this hippodrome, and I
no,
was deathly allergic. Like I was sneezing and
oh
like blowing
yeah,
my nose the entire time.
uh, yeah, definitely. Especially if a lot of animals, you got to be careful about not stepping on shit. Shit was everywhere because we're
Yeah.
the way we had to get to around the arena from our seat. It was like where the horses and all the animals would come in through, so they would gate us off for a little bit to make access way for the animals. And so obviously they're just dropping bombs in our walkway the entire time.
Yeah.
But I don't think I stepped any shit out of them. I probably did, but I don't know. Good night. Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
maybe I don't need to go to it again unless if I'm in Cowboy Land down in Texas. But and then we make our way over to a very unique bar. Was that Buzz's in
Buzz's
Waterloo?
Bar in Waterloo.
Okay, yeah, cool layout. One of my awesome layout for a bar, man. Anytime you get a U shape
Yeah.
bar layout, sign me up. I could have sat there all night long and just watched people watch in Waterloo and just watch some basketball on the TV and just drink my drink.
Yes, and that's what you can do there. You can definitely people watch in Waterloo in general, but definitely Buzz's Bar as well. I think last week at our you and I Drake recap, I mentioned the frosted mug at Toad's, and I think another underrated bar feature, which again is not completely rare, but it just needs to be utilized more, is that open U bar because you can just see everything, and I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, another successful weekend. We're feeling it today on the Sunday. But yeah, it's always a good time to have you down here in the Waterloo area. And Bryce, we're in March. This
Hmm.
is when you start the season oppression is getting over with, like we talked about on the previous episodes, and we're getting to some nice warmer weather. And I'm going to look at the history of Des Moines here for weather records. But before I get into that, quick shout to a good classmate of mine back from high school, Dirty Dave, who's a
Yeah,
huge big time listener. He's been listening to all of our podcasts. He's been out in Colorado for 2 months, just snowmobiling every single day. Shit, you
that's what
know.
Dirty Dave's up to, huh?
Yeah, now he's gonna be there till April. So he's spending a quarter of his year just catching slopes, man, and listening to our podcast, and he's loving it, having a good time. So shout out to you, Dirty Dave. Love you, brother. Hope you're shredding some slopes today. We got I think a high of we're gonna look at Des Moines, like I said. I think
Okay.
you guys are cranking around 45 degrees today. And looking back on March 2nd, all time record for weather in Des Moines, the highest temperature is 76 degrees, set back in 1923. That's a cooking day right there, brother.
Yeah.
Lowest -10 back in 1913. Most precipitation is 1.87 inches in 1970, and most snow is 7.5 inches in 1965. So,
Nice.
hey, I'm not arguing. We're not anywhere near the records right now, but
Nope.
if you look
No,
at the
that's
forecast for next week, I think we're going to be hitting 60, 65 ish. Anytime my rule of thumb growing up in Iowa was anytime state basketball happens is when weather starts getting nice, especially for
yeah.
the boys' state, which will be next week. And looks like it's going to hold true again. And shout out to all the people who made state this week. Love
Yes.
seeing a lot of good environments going out there for state basketball. For the women's this week and for the guys next week. One of the best traditions is Wells Fargo making the arena. Don't move Wells Fargo. Don't
Yeah.
do them dirty like you did for baseball. Keep actually my cousin says they should move the state basketball to the McLeod Center.
I don't disagree with that. That's cool. I think what was our consensus? We've talked about baseball. We actually on the Iowa Chill channel posted something a little bit incorrect, but they moved wrestling duels to Coralville, so that's not all of state wrestling now does not happen in Wells Fargo. Part of
Mhm.
state duels at least happens in Coralville. But I think if I'm remembering right, our consensus was make state about the coolest venue in the state, and
Yep.
I think McLeod might be that for basketball.
Yeah,
Maybe
McLeod's like a
maybe,
perfect.
maybe Jack. No, maybe Hilton.
Not. The reason I like Des Moines is get to the big city, right? Get to the big
Yeah,
venue, get to the big city. You're from small town Iowa. You want to make it to the big city, baby, and I love Des Moines for hosting all state
yeah,
tournaments. And
hmm
McLeod would be great just because of the capacity would make sense for a lot of these arenas. Wells Fargo is a pretty big arena, right?
hmm
Hosting almost, I think, gosh, I don't even know, 12, 13,000. I could totally, it could be, no, it's got to be more than that because it's like 17, 18,000 if you open up the upper decks. Because for the NCAA tournament, you have to meet a capacity
hmm
size, right? And I know Wells Fargo just clears that. So, yeah, mass, and obviously, I know Harrison Barnes era, they filled it up. But a
They
lot of
filled
these
it up.
like 1A games, there's a lot of empty seats, but I don't care. Leave it at Wells Fargo. I love it. It's eye opening when you walk into that big arena. And you're like, damn, we made it, man. And so good luck to all the teams there
Yeah,
at state. Bryce, tried to look back at March 2nd history in Iowa. Not a lot, nothing, almost damn near nothing. But what I
Really?
did find out is that March is National History Month for the state of Iowa. Like, so I know everyone in the country's paying their attention to Iowa for History
Yeah.
Month here, I guess. So I guess not a lot.
Yeah, the only time people pay attention to Iowa is in the caucuses and Iowa History Month, of course. Everyone's paying attention to that.
Right. But other Iowa news, I think you saved Waukee, Iowa from burning down this last weekend because we've had the red
Yeah.
flag warning. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, we had red flag all week. Obviously, you hear about a lot of fires out in California, and obviously recently some very devastating fires out there. Well, out here in Waukee, I had my first experience with a fire that progressively got much worse because of the wind. Still don't quite know what happened. So we're finishing up a meeting at home, and I walk down, grab an apple, I'm cutting it up, kind of just walking outside, just finishing up my day. All of a sudden, I see, down just south of us is Interstate 80, and I see kind of like a bunch of smoke and like the beginnings of a flame. Within the 10 minutes that I'm out there, this flame has moved significantly closer to us, and it's coming fast because the wind's blowing directly from the south. We have a grove of trees like just outside of our backyard. Within 25 minutes, that grove of trees is on fire.
Oh shit!
So I'm kind of like starting to like, I'm not freaking out here, but I'm just like, man, I really hope that somebody is on the way to like contain this, because there's emergency vehicles down by Interstate 80. I'm assuming it's a vehicle fire that started everything. Looking back the next day, like they didn't say what actually started this thing. But at this point, maybe 30 minutes into the whole ordeal, I'm calling 911. I'm like, if this wind's blown any different direction, our whole complex is gone. So I get on the phone with them. They're like, yeah, we have people there. I'm like, yeah, but they're like down by the interstate. I don't think anyone's coming up here. So she's like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we'll get people around this way. Pretty soon we've got fire engines out front of our front door.
Were they quick?
And they were quick. As soon as that was in play, it feels like everything kind of unfolded quickly. And shout out to the fire department; they had that thing contained very quickly. But yeah, it's just crazy, and just kind of the funny things when like there's a scramble like to contain a fire, like trucks and stuff getting stuck in the mud, and people trying being a little nosy and getting told to go back inside. Like just the people watching experience was kind of fun once I knew that we weren't in danger anymore. But just kind of a wild Tuesday afternoon here in the state of Iowa, but mostly Waukee.
Yeah, we need as much excitement as we possibly can. We've been hunkered down in our forts for the last couple of months due to winter. So come springtime, if we can get outside and we see a little action, some weather going on, we're gonna stay tuned. Make sure
Absolutely.
we're keeping an eye on it. And good thing you're keeping an eye on it and watching it, preventing the city from freaking burning down. My first instinct would have been like, there's usually a lot of controlled burns out there. So I'm like, is this a control burn? But shout out to like the National Weather Service for posting days in advance and the day of, like, hey, we're in a red flag warning. So if you see any fire, that's a immediate notice right there. Like, no, that should not be taking place. So Bryce, shout out to you for saving the city, man. They should give you a freaking Medal of Honor. And
I'm not going to take complete credit. I don't think that I completely alerted the situation, because obviously there was emergency vehicles, but I'm going to give myself a little credit and just feel better that my first 911 call maybe contributed to the success of the containment of that fire.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I'm going to pat your back on that. So good for you.
Thank you.
May 4th, may the 4th be with you, is a big day in the state of Iowa. We talked about this a little bit ago, but Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever will be playing the Brazilian national team in Carver Hawker Arena for her great return to Iowa City. And they just released tickets this last week. Mm-hmm. And I knew right away. I wasn't, no way, not a chance. Obviously, would I like to go to the game? But my brother was talking about it. Was like, hey, he was talking to one of my cousins. Maybe we should go to the game. And I laughed. I'm like, you think you're freaking getting tickets for a decent price for this? You're batshit crazy. I didn't even look at the tickets right away. And he said he took one look. He's like, nope. At one point, the highest ticket was $44,000 for a front row seat. That's not even a freaking courtside seat. Obviously, you knew it was going to come down, crazy. But that's just the type of freaking secondary market is nowadays. It's absolutely out of control, right? And especially for Caitlin Clark, she's a ticket selling person's best case scenario in their life. And I look today, StubHub's the cheapest ticket right now is $456. So you're looking after transactions fees probably around freaking $580. $550. I don't know, somewhere between then. Transaction
That's
fees
so
are
crazy.
ridiculous nowadays. Just to freaking watch a game that doesn't even count. I love Caitlin Clark, absolutely love her, but I ain't paying $700 to freaking watch her play in a game
No,
that
it's
doesn't even
crazy.
matter. I
It's
mean,
gonna be really
people.
cool, but that's outrageous. 44K is hilarious. Like I hope somebody kind of got stuck with that ticket, because if you bought that ticket, that's outrageous. You don't deserve to resell that.
No, but days like today, I'm glad I don't have a daughter quite yet or a kid, because I can see all the poor ass parents in the state of Iowa if they're Caitlin Clark loving kids heckling their
Oh
parents.
yeah.
Please, can we go to the game? Please, please, please. And they got to buy a ticket for themselves, and you're looking over $1,000 already. From these. That's a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, they gotta figure it out in the secondary market. It's unbelievable. So shout out to the parents who are making it work and going to the
Yep.
game. But damn, not me, man. I'll be just fine watching on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to make some special moments happen with my future daughters if that comes to be. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to stomach even over $1,000 tickets to go see a game
Oh
like this if we're bringing the whole family.
my lord, yeah. So whatever.
Will be cool for anyone that gets to go to that. I hope you really enjoy it, because that is a pretty special experience.
It is cool bringing the WNBA team back. I'm liking that they're doing more things like that. Give back to the person who's literally given you everything, right, for this franchise. And Fever, watch out for the Fever, man. If you don't have a preseason bet on them potentially winning the WNBA, I would. They made some massive moves in the offseason, bringing some big players like Bonner and all of them. So it's gonna be an awesome team to watch this year, and it'll get us through the summer sports season drought.
Absolutely.
What I do need to do right now is literally survive the basketball season, and Drake did everything they could to give me a freaking heart attack this afternoon. Reminder, we're recording here again on Sunday, and Drake escapes an OT victory against the worst team in the Missouri Valley, Missouri State, to secure a 27-3 regular season campaign for Ben McConn's first year at Drake. Absolutely. Again, I've been saying it all year long. This is the best flipping story in sports right now. You have 4 Division II stars. You took them 27-3. Sure, Drake ain't sexy, but winning's sexy, baby. You find a way to get it done. That's what they did. They survived in advance. They drug out the game just long enough to get overtime where they took advantage of it right away, closed out the victory, keeping their at-large bids alive for the NCAA tournament, which is huge. And you can clearly tell that Drake was playing not to lose this game today. Kind of a little bit nerves on the end, knowing what's at stake with the at-large. And Missouri State had nothing to freaking lose. This is the last game in the Missouri Valley. If you didn't know that, Bryce, they're heading
I did not.
to the Conference USA
Okay.
next year. And a lot of people give them shit, right? Because now they have the worst record in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, so what do they have, like 2 wins in conference this year?
I don't even know. I think they're
Something
like 7 and
terrible.
like 23 overall, maybe something like that. So I don't know. They got the job done. They did it the other night too at Evansville, won by 4 points, and then got the OT victory. So they barely scratched by 2 of the worst teams in the conference. But there's so much weird pressure when you're at the top.
Yeah.
You have a target on you every day. You're playing not to lose because Drake's depending on this at large, right? You want to go into Missouri Valley Conference tournament this week with that weight lifted off your shoulder. And I think if they get one victory, I still think even if they lose, they're in a quarterfinal. You should at least give them the playing game. I mean, Drake is 5-0 in quad 1 and quad 2 wins, and their biggest win against Vanderbilt had another big win yesterday against ranked Missouri team, and they won at number 12 Texas A&M the other day. So looking forward to Arch Madness, man. One of my favorite. It is my favorite non-power 4 conference tournament because everyone's playing to make the NCAA tournament, and magic happens this week.
Yeah, the storyline after Evansville from a lot of analysts was like, if you win one of your next 2 games, you have a very good chance of that at large. Obviously, I guess it was this last game and then maybe one of the tournament games. I feel like kind of what you're saying is true. I think now you've almost for sure locked up that at large as long as you have a respectable first game. But yeah, like you said, you want to keep winning so that there's no doubt whatsoever, and just go in full steam ahead to your conference tourney, and then obviously get that big berth. Like you said, March Madness or Arch Madness has a ton of history. Back in the day when Creighton and Wichita State, you've had some Loyola Chicago years.
The Ben Jacobson era, 15,
A lot of
Yeah.
UNI teams that did very well there. So yeah, like you said, it's a great tourney, and I love that it happens right before all the big dogs play, so you get kind of the
Uh-huh.
spotlight for that week ahead.
Yeah, definitely another reason why I love it. Right, they finally get that spotlight, and anytime it becomes March, shots for some reason have a higher percentage chance of going in. It's unbelievable as you see some of the shots, the buzzer beaters from half court. I've already been seeing it through college women's basketball
Oh yeah.
and men's basketball. So some magic is in place in St. Louis this week. Shout to Michael Admire. He's probably going to be going down there earlier this week. Enjoy the trip, man. We got your back. We got Drake Nation's back. Let's have ourselves a week. Go Dogs!
Okay, can I give you
And
a hypothetical here, Nate, before you get into
yeah,
your next piece? Let's say Drake goes down and wins the whole thing. I think that would be like 4 more games under their belt that they
I
put in
think
the
it's
win
3.
column. 3 more games that they would
Yep.
put in the win column. How high do you think they could potentially get ranked in the round of 64?
You're probably looking at a 9 seed.
That feels
You
right.
know, for some reason, every time the committee member wakes up in bed, they just get pissed off that the mid majors even breathe air. So
Yeah.
they're not going to give them any more than love of that. So you could probably expect a 9 seed. You and I and Drake's on the perfect side of the bracket, right? You don't have to worry about you and I or Bradley to the championship round. But that being said, look how Drake plays. Usually Drake plays through the competition, right? Hopefully things open up a little bit at a neutral court in a bigger environment, bigger stage that Drake can play a little bit with more energy and find a way just to continue to get the job done. So yeah, you're probably looking at 9, 10 seed for Drake
I think that
here.
makes sense. I want to say the 2010 year when you and I ended up beating Kansas in the round of 32, they were ranked 8 and then beat San Diego State and then beat Kansas. So I think that feels right. Like, I think if you don't win any of the games, you're sitting at like a 12,
Yeah. Yep.
maybe get
Yep.
as high as like a 9.
Mm-hmm. Who's not going to be in the NCAA tournament, who's probably not going to even be in their own freaking conference tournament, is the Iowa Hawkeyes. They continue to suck, and they got smoked by 20 at Illinois. They lost
Yeah.
at Northwestern. Up next against Michigan State, who just looks unbeatable right now.
Yeah.
And Michigan State coming off that half-court winner the other night and then taking care of business against Wisconsin today. Can the Hawks get one last magic in them? One last upset against Tom Izzo on senior day for Peyton Sanford? And God, it would be so nice if they just announced it that, hey, this is Fran's final game, at least at
Yeah, get
Carver
some
Hawkeye.
extra
Give him a
juice.
send off, man. Give him a appropriate send off. But I don't know what kind of witchcraft shit's going behind with contracts and other shit like that. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't really care
I
anymore.
think
The season needs to
maybe
end
with
for them.
senior day, maybe with Fran, like maybe if like the fans don't know, but even if the players kind of assume it's his last game, maybe you get some magic, but I'm not keeping my hopes up. I've had my hopes down, I think, on this team since December.
Yep. I don't care about them. We'll move on from the Hawks. Iowa State bounces back. Last Tuesday, they had the worst loss of the TJ Ottsberger era at Oklahoma State. I know they were short Keyshawn Gilbert, but they got him back yesterday, and we saw what that did at Hilton, right? Hilton
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere was awesome with the gold out, and they absolutely pissed pound in Arizona, right? Getting that, avenging their loss from that 3-quarter shot down in Tuscaloosa. So, Clones, hey, you got your whole team back finally. Momchilovich looking good, taking care of the 3-point line, 4-7 for 3, 17 points. The bench play is where I want to highlight the Clones right now, right? Looking at increasing the depth, and hopefully that's what this lack of roster has done in the last previous games, right? You need these other guys to step up. There's been a lot of heat on Nate Heisey for getting that role, and he's been exceptional for his status
Yes.
here the last 3 games. He comes in with 12 points, Jones 12 points at the bench, and Chatfield 10 points off the bench. So the 3 bench players all in double digits, and this game was never in doubt
Mm-hmm.
against the Wildcats.
Yep. Went into a hostile environment down in Tucson earlier this year, almost come away with a win. Miracle shot by Caleb Love to get into OT, and obviously Arizona wins. And then, yeah, this is the game we kind of predicted, I think, last week. They're going to come in and roll. Don't sleep on Heisey. I know he's getting some heat, but I think he's going to be one of those tournament players that you lean on, you rely on for those 8 to 12 points. Any worries here? Like, what's the worst case scenario for Iowa State right now? Lose early in the Big 12 tournament and then, get like a 6 seed or something like that?
No, I don't think they'll drop to a 6 seed. They have too many quad 1 wins this year. Worst case scenario, you're probably looking at a 5. Very,
Okay.
very worst case scenario, 5, I think. Uh, Likely a 3 seed right now at this moment. They got another big opportunity with BYU, one of the hottest teams
Super hot. Yeah,
in the
what's going on
country.
there?
The Cougars, man. Like they said, they got some Mormon money being poured into the NIL collectives because I was telling you this weekend how they signed the number one player
Yeah.
in high school who will be playing for BYU next year. I don't know where they got the money, but they got it done. This guy's going to be a stud. But Brigham Young's been they've always been a decent basketball team ever since the
Yes,
Jimmer
right.
Fredette days. These guys can typically score, but they've strung together some wins recently. I think they're now ranked number 25. But luckily, you get them at home. You go to BYU, you're in trouble. We saw them take care of Kansas by 40 some points.
Yep.
Over
No, I'm
there.
not. I don't know what's going on in Big 12. Like typical late season surges from some teams. BYU is scary, like you said at home. That makes me feel a lot better. I like to think that they win out the rest of their games, and maybe we've mentioned, you don't always want to win your Big 12 or Big 10 tournament because sometimes it takes away some of the juice for those early round games in the tournament. But
They need to do what they do for mid majors for these Power Four. End the season a week early,
yeah,
right? And give yourself a 2-week break from the NCAA tournament, or at least a week and a half. These teams are getting not even a full week, right? And you're grinding day after day after day for some of these teams. But hey, you can make an exception for NC State last year, right? Had to win the ACC tournament to even get into the NCAA tournament, right? So they strung together 5 straight wins in the ACC tournament, and then they make it to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. So you don't want to make any excuses. I get it, but I would still like to see a little bit of gap play. Give your team some time to recover and get the scouting report ready for the first NCAA tournament matchup. But that's when it comes to Selection Sunday. I like the short turnaround. Like, we just had Selection Sunday. Now we have the playing games already on Tuesday, Wednesday. So
I know,
man,
it
it's
just
coming.
gets you right into it.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
March. And we're here, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. Late surges from a couple teams to win 3-4 games, depending on what I don't remember how big that tournament is, but you go into the tournament a little beat up after a conference tournament like the Big 12. And I remember those years when Iowa won it. I think they beat Purdue a couple years ago, and it just felt like they were so gassed. Like they played great. Bohannon's hitting late shots. It looked like that took all of the wind out of their sails. So I'm hoping, obviously, that they go into this end of the season, win their last couple of games, and then have a great Big 12 tournament. Because I love the conference tournaments, but I'm kind of secretly hoping for a deeper run from the Clones this year.
And what we love about March is unpredictability, right? We can say all the stats in the world about these teams and who we think is going to win, and the complete opposite is probably going to happen. So, hey, Cinderella time, and looking forward to it. NCAA tournament always provides it. It is my absolute favorite sporting thing in the entire world, and we are almost here. Bryce, we're going to be jumping into our segments this week. We're going to be ranking our top 5 Iowa sayings phrases.
Okay. So top phrases originating from Iowa, or just top phrases that you like as growing up as an Iowan?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Because that's kind of, I structured it as kind of like the cliches that I remember people saying or gotten popular. Okay.
Shout out to Hannah Files for recommending this one. We're out to eat with her last night. She says, I want to hear the top 5 Iowa sayings phrases. Okay. And I'm going to hit you with my number 5. The classic, hey, we could definitely use some more rain. Yes. There's never enough rain for these farmers, and especially being married into a farming family, you get it even more. And now that I own some property, my brown grass, we could definitely use the rain, right?
Of course. Yeah, it's always true. Whenever someone says that, it's never not true, and that's what I love about a lot of these sayings is that there's always a 90% truth in them. Yes, I don't know if it's because everybody has some indirect tie to farming, but it does seem like people in Iowa are very concerned about the rain. I love that one. It's a great way to start it off. I'm going to start it off with kind of a hand motion and a saying put together, and that is the double knee slap, signaling that it's time to go. Well, suppose it's that time. And you got to kind of sigh when you say it too, like to really let people know that you're ready to take off from this event.
Yeah, you're not, but as soon as you say that, you're not going anywhere for the next 5, 10, 15, even 20 minutes sometimes, depending on which household you're at. It's the beginning of the goodbye, and the goodbye stages is like 4 or 5 stages to get in that goodbye. And you'll see that.
If you want to leave at 9, you better start that Welp, I suppose, at like 7.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. You'll be seeing that on my list.
Okay. Very good. Am I circling back?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, no, for sure. Kind of tried to blend that one in there because you almost maybe didn't catch it, but my number 4 is yeah, no, for sure. And that can also be no, yeah. You can switch those two between themselves, but it's kind of just a agreeance or disagreement with somebody in a very passive aggressive, trying to be polite kind of way. If you agree with somebody, it's yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Like you're definitely agreeing, and there's a lot of inflection that needs to be conveyed so that people know what you're talking about, because this one can be kind of confusing.
Yeah, I definitely use that as a scapegoat for some conversations when I don't really care about the topic we're talking
Yes.
about. Just say, yeah, no,
Yes.
for sure. Just to say something, and
Yep.
it gets me by a lot of conversations. Usually for me, it doesn't have a lot of meaning. It's just words for me to
Yes. It's
show you that
filler.
I don't really care what the hell we're talking
Hmm.
about. Yeah, definitely
But
some
you
filler words.
but you just couldn't ignore them, so you had to throw that in there. Very
Number
versatile.
4, yeah, number 4 is not so much a phrase or a saying, but hear me out. So my number 4 is explaining where you're from by giving the amount of miles from the closest largest town. And
Yeah.
I'm always growing up saying, yeah, I'm 40 minutes north of Fort Dodge or 40 minutes west of Mason City, right?
Yeah.
And that was the amount of times I've had to say that to explain where I'll go to Iowa is to some of these
Especially on a
people.
trip, right? Like if someone's not familiar with Iowa, then you kind of just say
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, and
love that.
if not, it's 2 hours north of Des Moines.
You know what
And
you
I guess
also
my head
just kind of
nods.
secretly just integrated there without even like thinking about it, because you're just so Iowan, is that you don't say it's 60 miles, you say it's 60 minutes. That's something that like almost never, when you're talking to an Iowan, will
Mhm.
talk in mileage. You'll say like, it's about 2 hours from Cedar Falls.
Yeah,
You
no,
won't say it's
definitely
120 miles.
no.
Definitely not. It's a good one.
And yeah, my number 3 here is the slap on the knee, the great Midwestern Iowa goodbye, and saying, "All right, well," and
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
uh, you just know it. I hate it so fucking much. I'm a very antsy guy. I just want to go to the next place, right? And I know some of these times, like, oh my God, I just know when I try to say goodbye here, I'm going to be for another 15, 20 minutes. I'll start walking around. And some of these people just they don't give a shit.
Yes.
They would want to keep talking to you and refuse to let you go.
Well,
And you get,
sometimes it feels like it's a competition to see if they can get you to stay, and I
uh-huh.
can't stand that either.
And I know there's been times when I've got to the doorway and the next thing you know, I'm sitting back down in the house. I
Uh-huh.
never left.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I hate, some of those households where they'll follow you to the door.
Oh yeah.
Just let me walk over to you, dap you up real quick and say goodbye, right?
Uh-huh.
But then you get the awkward door area vibe where you keep
Uh-huh.
talking there and it just keeps freaking going.
And if you're with
God.
family, there's probably some hugs exchanged.
Yep.
If you're with grandparents, then they're definitely walking you out to the car. It's not even just the door, and they're
Oh,
definitely waving goodbye. So that's a good one. It's the start of something that's going to last a little too long in
uh-huh.
the Midwest.
And it's just Iowans being nice and showing that they care about you. I get it,
Hmm.
but man, just let me get on to my next point of the day.
Yep, I totally agree. Nate, my number 3 is going to be when you ask an Iowan how it's going, and they reply with, "I'm living the dream," or "Oh, it's going," and you just know that they're in dire need of some help. Um, I had my freshman coach used to say, "Another day above ground," and
Yep.
we thought that was hilarious. But I'm just like, secretly, do we need to get this guy some mental help? Because
Uh,
any one of those 3 sayings is a it's almost a cry for help.
yeah. No, I definitely fall into the category. Well, it's going, I guess. You
Yeah,
just literally just surviving, man.
yeah.
And that's what people are trying to tell you.
Catch me on a Tuesday afternoon at like 2 p.m. and the afternoon tides have hit, and it'll be, oh, it's going.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a staple.
Am I circling back with 2?
Yep.
The classic. Ope. Very versatile. If you accidentally bump into somebody, it's oh. If you're probably at fault, you say, oh, sorry, because you've identified that you were the reason why it happened. All kinds of reasons why you can work in the 3-letter gospel of the Midwest, OPE, OPE.
Yeah. So my number 2 is, oh, excuse me.
Yep.
It's second nature. You can't
Mhm.
stop yourself from doing it. And that's what pisses me off most about it, right? And
Yeah.
I'll bump into someone or barely sneak by them in the grocery aisle, and I know what's gonna happen, and I can't stop myself from freaking saying it, right? It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, and then I'll say shit in my head. I'm like, son of a bitch, I did it again, and I would just wonder because, and then at the same time they'll do it too. Oh, and are we both thinking in our head right now? God, we both just oped each other, and
So
it's It's
Nate, you
sickening how much you do it, right?
right,
That's the
right.
worst part
And
about it.
you've talked about it for a long time on the I Would Chill in Midwest versus Everybody social media accounts. And one of my favorite comments that some people will leave is, I've lived here my entire life and I've never oped one time in my life. And then you are with said person potentially in person. You're like, what are you talking about? You literally just oped. Like it's so second nature that they don't even realize what it is. It may not be so pronunciated with the P, but almost everyone that I've met in the Midwest has oped in their life. And if you say you haven't, I don't think you're telling the truth.
Yeah, I always do the open and exhale because I'm like, shit, I got caught again by the ope gods. Yeah,
Yep.
just it's a second nature that we'll never get rid of. Hell, sometimes I think it's almost first nature over breathing.
Hmm.
My number one, Bryce, wrapping up this list it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the wind.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
truest statement ever, and I
Hmm.
love fucking saying that one, man.
I do
I
too.
don't care. I'm all
I
about
say
it.
it. The older I get, the less ironic I say it too, and it
And
sucks because you're like your parents. Like you're gonna be like everybody else in the state of Iowa. You're gonna be like your parents. You're gonna do all these things that you said you weren't gonna do, and I love it. I've embraced it as well. It is my number one too, but I
yeah,
did
I
throw
mean,
humidity in there. It in the summer, it wouldn't be so bad without the humidity. In the winter, it's the wind.
yeah, and I start wrecking up a big smirk because I know I'm about to say it. Another person always calls me out. That was such a Midwestern thing to say.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't care. I
And
love it.
again, it's that it's always true. We could use this rain, like you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, and it wouldn't be so bad. We just had a 45-degree day where it was sunny and not very windy, and it felt like it was
Eh,
65 out.
So I was at the grocery store today. We're walking out of the grocery store, and I stopped and looked at my wife and said, "You know when we say all those times, hey, it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the wind, and there was no wind today." I'm like, remember this moment.
Yeah,
We're actually when we talk
hmm,
about those moments, this is days like today are what we're talking about. So we finally had
100%.
a day where it wasn't windy, and that's uh, uncommon because this time of the year, anytime we want to golf or
Yeah,
set a
it's gonna
tee
be
time,
windy.
it's gonna be 30-mile-per-hour winds, and this is what you
Yes.
get with spring in Iowa.
Hmm.
So solid list.
A great list.
Yeah.
Final cap on that last one is that, like, I'll say unpopular opinion: 0 degrees with no wind is sometimes better than a 30-degree drizzle with wind.
Hmm.
I think that seems like it's not crazy if you live around here. It might be like 30-degree difference. You got to be kidding me. Trust me, people. Yeah, great list. It's funny to me that we had the same last two and we ranked them even in the same spots, but we didn't coordinate it.
Yeah, we were usually pretty good about that, so it came down to two
I,
that
I thought you would
were
be
at
an
the same.
oper in the first one, though. I really did.
You thought I had to open at number one.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I definitely use that one the most. I freaking hate
Yeah.
doing it because I always get caught. It drives me
Yep.
nuts, and I can't stop myself. So that's why I put it at number two. Number one, the reason I have that is because I love saying it.
Yeah, we had the exact same
I
hungover
think I'm a.
thought. It's like, okay, what do I actually enjoy saying? Cool. Yeah.
Ugh.
Great list. Thanks for bearing with me. My brain, when we were trying to talk sports there, it was like, have I ever watched a basketball game in my entire life?
Yeah, yeah, guys, we had a lot of fun, and like I said, that's back to back weekend trips for Bryce over here
Yeah.
in the Cedar Valley area.
Been
But
a
we had a great
weekend
weekend,
warrior.
man. Yeah,
Yep.
and again, shout out to Drake for getting the job done today. Really proud of him for Coach McCollum having a very successful season. Everyone, stick with you. Stick with the weather. It's only getting better every single day, and I'm loving life right now, man. Let's have ourselves a week. Let's go.